Greetings and welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, we are going to be talking about the challenges with switching over to Linux today. I'm going to unmute everybody. So greetings, everybody. But I need to fix something in OBS before I go over to the window because OBS reset my Windows screens and it's kind of frustrating. So we'll kind of walk through what I'm doing. We're still in experimental mode. But greetings, everybody. People can hear you. They just won't be able to see you until I fix the web browser views.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
All right. So somebody say something because I'm in the middle of trying to fix stuff here.
Linux is better than Windows.
There you go. No. Come on.
We've used Jitsi up here in Canada for our Linux group, and took a while to get used to it. But I do find Zoom easier, but I'm getting okay with both. I had to do some presentations a few months ago, and I know computers, but presentation is a whole different skill.
Yeah. I agree with
That come through?
Yep, you're good. Hold on. I am almost there on my end.
Tom presents something almost every day.
There we are. Whew. Got that one fixed. Now I have one more I think I need to fix. All right, so what's going on here, guys, is we're experimenting. We're still experimenting with Jitsi, and I'm on more of a more permanent server, hopefully. And I am experimenting with using the Jitsi client, which is available as a Flatpak. And so first it was not processing the window correctly. And now, for some reason, when I had everything set up perfectly, it went ahead and resized itself. And I think it might have to do with whenever I click to put that in the background, I get a little like preview window up in the corner. If I close the preview window because it's in my way, it messes up the screens on OBS. But we'll give that a try and we'll see if that ends up working. But okay, I am back and my attention is back to the guests now. So greetings, how's everybody doing? Rick, you joining us? So how you doing up there?
Good. Snow coming tonight.
Oh boy, snow coming. That means I should check to make sure we don't have a frost advisory. I still have my citrus tree on the back porch I need to bring in. So, all right.
Tires are on order.
Yeah, and Quint, you're down there in the desert, like not the deserts, but the tropical rainforest. How's it down there in Atlanta?
It's
still wearing your shorts?
Right now it's 67.
Oh, how cold! How cold! Yeah, it was actually really nice today. It was like 60 or so today, and it's like one of the few days in a long time I have not got a chance to get out and walk. So, Dan, how's it going your way?
It's a little chilly today. It's about 55 at the top of the day. Mm-hmm. I went outside to smell the air, went to the mailbox. I'm like, it's too cloudy. I'm going back to bed.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it was nice there.
It's gotten into the 80s this week.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, it does. Atlanta weather's like that. Everything's been good though. I didn't have school today, and I don't have school tomorrow, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Lucky you.
All right. So let's go ahead and diving in on our topic here, and then if we run out of things to say, then we can kind of shoot the breeze until we are done with the stream. So we want to talk about the challenges to Linux adoption, and this is a neat one. Of course, we followed on the weekly news roundup. We talked about like Lenovo is coming out with a whole lot of lines of Linux laptops and things. And so we're getting more computer companies that are selling Linux, but I'm still finding, like, of everything that I have found, I think still the cheapest I can get anything is hovering in the $1,000+ range. And I think if we want to mainstream computers, we need to get away from this idea of always looking at always the latest, the highest end laptops, particularly since Linux is the one distribution that runs perfectly well on old or slower hardware. Like, I have a Lenovo S21e, 5 years old little netbook with almost no processing power, and you would think that the things like an i5, iCore 5 processor with like 16 gigs of RAM in there with how fast it runs on MX Linux just zooms along. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about here today is the various challenges that we perceive it to be. Let me also check in with comments here real quick. I'll just scan through real quick. Let's see, Douglas Ward, greetings. What time is in Bangladesh? I don't know what time it is in Bangladesh, but over here in State College, Pennsylvania, it is 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Actually, it's 7:07.
Yes, it is 7. Okay, it's 7:08 now. My clock just rolled to 7:08. All right. Yeah. These teenagers are always getting us. All right. Let's see. According to World Clock Apps, time right there in Bangladesh is 4:41 a.m. Ooh, well, if you are watching at 4:41 a.m., you are committed. Congratulations. All right. Let's see. See if there's anything else coming in here real quick. Greetings, Bruce Scott. How's it going there? Take me to your leader. Keegan's on. Good evening to you. Razzle Review. Hello. So like any of our forecasts, need a hug. If anybody needs a hug, Garden Data is offering free hugs. Greetings, DistroTube. How's it going there? 27 doesn't know. Yeah, DT's in the house. Windows is better than Apple. I don't know. I don't know.
I've got one right here.
There you go. All right. I will tell you that I do boot up the Apple more than I boot up the Windows computer. Windows gets booted up only when I need it.
I have to agree with you, Tom, that I think that Apple, at least the privacy is better.
Yeah, privacy's better. It boots a lot faster, and I don't have to sit there for 5 minutes while it's spinning the disk at 100%, sending all of my data for the last 5 months up to the Microsoft's cloud. Apple just boots on and it's on. So let's see. So if I need a computer to boot on really fast, I usually boot up the Apple, or either the Apple or this production computer here also boots in less than a minute. It's like less than 30 seconds, actually.
I know this computer that I have here doesn't boot up very fast, and I think it's because this computer doesn't have UEFI and BIOS is a lot slower. But my other laptop, which runs I have a small HP laptop too, which I think I've showed before. It's the one with the touch screen. That boots up really quick. I really do. Yeah, I really do think UEFI speeds up the boot time.
Yeah, maybe that's why this computer runs a lot faster. I'll just see what I have on my Linux one, which takes the Arch computer. It literally takes 5 minutes to boot up. I have no idea why. I've not been able to troubleshoot it, but I don't start and restart my computer a lot. So
I don't either. I don't even turn off my computer. I just suspend it and restart it the next day. Yeah. It takes less than 2 seconds.
Yep.
I shut down my computer every night and I turn it on typically like today I turned it on in the morning because I've been here all day. But if I had school, I would have turned it on, like after school. So I do turn my computer on.
If you're going to pull a suspense stunt night after night after night, you save all your stuff before you suspend it in case the power goes out and you do lose your suspend.
Yeah, I shut everything down and then shut off the power strips to them and everything. So, I mean, I don't wrap the whole place in aluminum foil so that I'm not protected from EMP, but I'm certainly protected if lightning strikes the grid. So,
yeah, I too. I switch off the power strip.
Yeah, I mean, you save so much electricity. It's hilarious because all the smart meters here were put on at the same time, like not long before I moved in here. My meter is like 10,000 kilowatt hours lower than the next door neighbors whose meter's right next to me, and they haven't lived there for 3 months. My meter still runs slower than theirs with all of my office, which is quite hilarious.
I haven't looked at our meter. I'm sure I have. So there's the equipment that's over all my networking equipment and my server and stuff that pulls about 150 watts, and that's on 24/7.
All right. So let's go ahead and start in. I think, Rick, you're at the top of my list here, so we'll go ahead and start with you. Let me know, what do you perceive as the biggest challenges to Linux adoption?
Well, I think it's complete unawareness of that Linux exists. I mentioned to people in the grocery store about Linux and here and there, and they have no idea what I'm talking about. And there's certainly no stores around in this city, and we're over 1 million nobody carries Linux computers at all, so it's all Windows. So, and if they do know, it's probably the fear of, well, I have no idea how this works, or But as far as cheap computers, it's easy enough to fire up a computer with a USB stick and install a system. As we all know that, but just nobody has any idea that there's an option. I think that's the biggest issue. So we have to somehow advertise, but how do you advertise? Because we have no commercial. Like Microsoft has ads and on TV or whatever, but and Apple, but there's no spokesperson for Linux.
Yeah,
that's the first stage. So
I think that's correct. So we just need to get people a little bit of awareness. I'm going to ask on one question because there's one part I'm going to think about on this one that you mentioned, and that is it's easy enough. Well, I know it is, and you know it is. And everyone here watching generally knows it is very easy to take a USB stick and install Linux. I think that's still something that terrifies most people. You know, if I just buy a new computer, I don't want to mess it up by putting something else on there, you know. What do you think about that?
I think the other issue, I would agree with you on that. I think that's probably a big problem. But I think one of the other issues is that you're still paying for that Windows license.
Yeah.
Well, actually, if you've already paid for 7, all you got to do is reuse the key for 10 and you get it for free or for what you paid for on 7.
Yeah, but if you're going into the store and buying a computer is what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The new Windows doesn't really have keys anymore. It's like tied to the motherboard.
Yeah, like starting with Windows 8, the key is built right into the hardware, and Windows 10 will take it directly.
So you really don't have an option to use that key on something else.
No, you don't. It only works on that machine.
So, even if there is a computer, for example, let's say there's a Linux computer, a computer that comes with Linux pre-installed, and then there's a version of that same computer that has Windows pre-installed, but the Linux pre-installed version only comes with Ubuntu or something. And let's say I wanted to use Fedora, I would still buy the Ubuntu, the one that had Ubuntu on it, and just wipe it so that I'm not paying for something I'm not using.
Yeah, that's the biggest one. So back to Rick's point is it's a point of awareness that Linux exists. And that is really the first thing. So if I can go into a Walmart or into a Best Buy or into whatever store is local to you wherever you buy stuff, and I can see the thing there and play around with it in the store, it's going to increase my odds of wanting to get it. Now, one of the challenges, of course, with that is we need to educate the sales force as to what that thing actually is and how to actually use it. So your Best Buy is going to have more people that have more knowledgeable about Linux and can show somebody and explain to them that, the regular software on our rack over there, if you don't need to go buy McAfee over there on the rack, but, that type of stuff may not run on it. But the great news is you don't generally need to buy software. You can just get it all from what's in there. I think that there's a difference there. Your Walmart employees, that's what you're probably going to get. And so they couldn't tell you any more than, I don't know, that one's $100 more. So I don't know. And so that is definitely one of the challenges.
I think so. Especially with Lenovo getting into the Linux market, that we're going to see these laptops in stores.
Yeah, hopefully we do. And I'm not sure we're completely going to, but hopefully we do. So go ahead, Dan.
I had a thought mostly about the pricing of these laptops and stuff and why an Ubuntu computer may cost $100 more than a Windows one is. You got to have sales personnel that are trained to explain these things to customers. And that costs extra money to find somebody that has that knowledge and hire them. Now that you have the built-in cost, if somebody does get one, takes it home and finds out they can't do nothing with it because none of their exe files will install. You have return issues that you have to you have return issues you have to pay for.
Yeah.
To clean the machine out and repackage it and all that. So that makes it kind of tough on the expenses.
I'm sure you guys have seen the video back in a couple years back now. The girl's like, she gets a Dell computer. I went with this one because it's cheaper and it doesn't even have this. I can't even put in the CD I got with my internet and install my internet. Like,
yeah, if you look at, I found that video.
Oh, that's just worse. And then she's like, and then I had to quit school because of it. I'm sorry. What kind of moron are you?
If you look at it, it's Ubuntu causes girl to drop out of college. If you look it up on YouTube, that's what it is.
Oh man, I messed up the camera angles again.
Thing is though, is that I think it's funny they even need the disk for the internet, because it clearly shows, like the router that they clearly shows that she has Wi-Fi on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my cousin, he went to Washtenaw Community College for programming. His instructor gave everybody in the class a DVD with Ubuntu on it.
Mm-hmm.
He brings his laptop over here and goes, "What do I do with this?" I go, "I put it in the tray on the computer." Luckily, he has a computer that has one. He goes, "It won't boot or anything for it." We played with this thing for like hours, and it could not get it to take Ubuntu. He took it home and he partitioned his disk onto his desktop. He was able to install it on his desktop. But I have an HP computer too, also here, the Ubuntu top. And I played with that, and it took me a while to get it in. And what I had to do is, with the EFI support, you had to actually on the disk move the EFI shim 64-bit shim stack for the EUFI into a boot folder, and then it'd take it. You had to do some filing, switching around.
It was one of the computers that had a 64-bit processor and a 32-bit bootloader, probably. Those things are a pain to get Linux to run on.
Well, actually, because all the good stuff that the computer is looking for to boot was in the boot EFI Ubuntu folder instead of the boot folder next to it.
Yeah, so that's one of those cases where, to Rick's point, for sure, that it is generally easy to install Linux, but it's not always going to be super easy to install it.
Honestly, though.
In that case, I had to really dig deep on the internet to find that piece of information.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, for example, you install your Linux with the USB stick. I got a friend of mine, he doesn't even know how to change the brilliance on his monitor down, so he has no idea. You put a USB stick in, well, he doesn't know how to hit delete and change the boot order. They don't even know how to do that. And a friend of mine, he's got a lot of trouble with the bright monitor. He got a new monitor, and it hurts his eyes. He has to go use his old monitor. So just the very basics of Linux, nobody even knows what a USB stick is for, other than copy music onto. So
a lot of the distros have that red shift.
Is what the big lack.
I don't know if he's talking about the colors, but the brightness.
Help for him either.
Yeah, for sure.
Mind, he's got a Windows computer, so that's.
My mother doesn't know how to delete email. I always have to show her how to delete email. Like, you highlight and push the button that says delete.
I remember that.
Now that she's retired,
exactly.
she can go and she can go take a computer class now. She's like,
fortunately, I don't have anybody in my family like that.
That's how fortunate.
Constantly.
Yeah. I just tell her, my brother lives closer. Have him help you, and that's that'll solve it.
But you can pick that up. For example, Joe Collins' mother. He set her up with Linux a long time ago, and she knows a fair bit. And once in a while, she gets stuck. But
I have tried to teach my mother. I tried to teach my mother how to do stuff. Yeah, she doesn't remember it. She has the instructions
what
about
you
how to
mean.
delete email written down in her book, and she can't remember it. My mother is the most computer illiterate person I'm pretty sure is on the face of the planet. If you gave a computer to the resurrected Moses, he would be able to know how to use it better than my mother. So, all right. Let's go ahead and look at my second reason I think why Linux is having a hard time with adoption is that while it is true that a lot of the current Linux users are super computer geeks and always want the latest and greatest, if we want regular adoption, we can't be charging thousands of dollars for Linux computers. And so what I did is I scoured the internet looking for where you can buy Linux computers. And I did focus on the places in United States mostly. So over here at Dell, if you filter for work and then go down and filter down for your operating system, you are offered 7 different choices of Linux computers starting at $1,049. Now, this is an i5 1135 G7, 8 megabytes of cache, up to 4.2 gigahertz. This is an amazing computer. It's really good. I like it. But you know what? I don't need that to run Linux for checking my email and playing some internet games and, checking on Facebook or something. Or I can just go with the next step up and go with the Precision 7500 Data Science Workstation for 5Gs. Which is amazingly good. I mean, these are really good computers. But where is the $500 computer that has a Celeron processor, which if you throw MX Linux on it or Peppermint on it, is going to run better than anything you could run Windows on? And this is really the point. I think that Total OS Today's up here with the caddy chunk. He makes the same point. We need to have something where so we can go into the store, they can buy the computer, it's not going to cost an arm and a leg, and they can see it, they can play with it right there. Lenovo, I searched for Lenovo. We had 4 of them. We do have cheaper options over at Lenovo. On the sale price, it's $954. This is a 10th generation Intel i5, up to 4 gigahertz. Basically, effectively the same kind of computer, just, $1,000 on up, $1,300. Again, really good computers, but if we're talking about getting your average person utilizing a software package, then we don't need all of that. You know what I mean? Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Well, I guess if you're going to go on the cheap, the Chromebook is like at the other end of the spectrum, the basement.
Yeah, I'm. Despite I know Linus Torvalds likes that, I don't consider the Chromebook Linux any more than I consider Android Linux. Maybe it's getting there. Maybe it's getting there. But until I can go in, sudo apt update, install what I want from the repositories, I'm not going to consider it Linux, personally.
I think we got to wait for this COVID thing to actually do its full circle, and we might see some cheaper stuff come out because, people are looking for cheap stuff for school and work and everything else, and the mid-range computers that could run Ubuntu, they're kind of. Did you find any Windows computers in the $500 or $600 range?
Yeah, let me go back.
They may not want to risk giving somebody an Ubuntu computer at that price right now, especially with everybody needing to get online.
That is a point.
So
what I did hear though is that Lenovo said that these were their just initial laptops they were going to release just to see if they were successful and stuff, which I think they are getting a lot of attention. So I think Lenovo will release more. This is just the first batch.
Yeah.
You only can do so much if you have limited stock.
Yeah, there's the Optiplex is 500. There's got to be more than. Okay, apparently I am stuck somewhere because I'm at 1,000. Hey, $54 for mouse. I kind of got stuck outside of computers only. But there was the Optiplex over there. Let's go ahead and drop this and go with a basic Windows. Let's see. Even go by price or anything.
Yeah, try some apples to apples on this. How bad really is the
so-
Ubuntu stuff getting worked over?
Yeah, okay. So those are Chromebooks. There's a ThinkPad here for 500. And this guy's an 8th generation i3 processor, 2.2 gig, 4 cores, 4 megabytes of cache, 8 gigs of RAM. Dude, you take this thing and throw, any cinnamon on it, it's going to run like lightning. That's the type of thing we're talking about. Now, can you buy this with Windows and then wipe it and put a Linux on it? Absolutely. But that's kind of what my point is. I do want to highlight a comment here. Distro2 is so right on this. If we want Linux adoption, we shouldn't be showing distros that only run GNOME. GNOME has some compelling elements, but it is not comfortable for a new user. Quint, can you speak to that at all?
I can't use it.
Yeah, I can speak to that since I am a GNOME user and I really love GNOME. It's what GNOME is what fits my workflow, but I understand that it doesn't fit everybody's workflow. And I think the reason why we're seeing laptops that only have GNOME is because those are the distros that have the money and that have the traction, to be on laptops. Like, for example, like Ubuntu and Fedora. Those are two really big Linux distributions.
But GNOME is not something you give somebody that's going from Windows to Linux. It's,
I understand that. Yeah. What I'm saying, though, is that the reason why I think it's just kind of a coincidence that the two big Linux distros that are going to be shipped on laptops that manufacturers are looking at both use GNOME.
Now, you might get this to work with GNOME from somebody that uses a tablet a lot.
Yeah. I think if we had, what I think should happen is, for example, like Fedora. I know Ubuntu has this too. I don't remember what it's called, but Fedora has something called Spins, where it's it's a version of Fedora that has a different desktop environment.
Yeah.
I think we need to see it where you can choose the laptop to have the default Fedora with GNOME, or you can choose with the Fedora that has KDE, or you can choose the one that has LXQT, whatever you wanted to pick. And it would tell you, you would click on it and you would say, this environment is more familiar to Windows.
Yeah, and there's 7 of them, I think 6 or 7 of them. And, you have XFCE, you have Mate, you have Plasma, you have...
you have LXQT?
You have Budgie.
Well,
I don't remember if you have LXQT.
You do. Suppose
on the Linux computer that you put a video that starts up on it when you first turn it on and shows you all these, so you get an idea which one you want to pick for it to put in place for you to use.
Yeah, there's some challenges with that approach, though. That if you're talking about that approach, you got to go with something like Farron or Zorin that you can choose the basic layout. Despite Zorin is still GNOME. But it doesn't look like GNOME is the point, and Farron is Plasma now. But you also have those layout options. So that's why those are two good options.
The problem is that those smaller distros aren't shipping on laptops because they're small.
Yeah, I think
they're one-person supporters.
Laptops,
What?
They're like one-person supporters.
Yeah, that's why Ubuntu and Fedora are being shipped on laptops, because we have Canonical with all their money is backing up Ubuntu to be get the manufacturers to put Ubuntu on the laptops. Same thing with Fedora and Red Hat. They have money and they're pushing these manufacturers to put their distro on the laptop.
Yeah, and so I would say that those two also have the ability to say, hey, let's test a few different distributions, because both Fedora and Ubuntu do have a variety of desktop environments they could use. I think it would help adoption if you chose something that was more familiar to your average person.
Yeah, I don't know exactly why Fedora isn't doing it. I think they should, but I think the reason why Canonical is not pushing any of the, I don't remember what they're called. I'm just going to call them spins because that's what they're called in Fedora.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why Canonical is not pushing any of them is because they're not official. They're not made by Canonical.
Well, The spins themselves, they are not specifically made by them, but they are seriously embraced by them, and there are canonical employees that work on them.
Yeah, there's a checklist.
They're official. There's unofficial ones, but there are official ones.
The unofficial ones haven't met the checklist of time being distributed and stuff like that yet.
Yeah.
What I was really referring to is the fact that Fedora develops all the spins. It's the same team that develops the GNOME ones that developed all the other ones.
Yeah. Rick, do you have an opinion on the desktop environment?
I think another issue of the Linux adoption is, say, if Canonical supports Linux and starts selling Linux computers, people expect if they buy a computer to have support, just like Windows. So if somebody gets stuck, well, they don't know where to go. So
yeah, I have never used or even known how to contact Microsoft for any support on Windows.
I have. I got
you're not supposed to contact Microsoft if you get a computer that has Windows pre-installed. You're supposed to contact the OEM. That's part of the licensing agreement.
Okay.
Ooh.
So I feel like, for example, I think it should be the same for Linux. That way, like Canonical's not overloaded on support.
Okay. So that's to Rick's point. Yeah.
So if you had a problem,
hold on, Quint. Rick, anything else you had to say on that?
Yeah, well, for example, I looked at Memory Express around here and wanted to buy even a refurbished computer. None of them have Windows come without an OS. You have to buy the OS, and all the new computers come with Windows 10. So there isn't anything except used, and none of the stores sell used or refurbished. Even the refurbished ones come with Windows.
Yeah, I've like when I bought my I have an Omniplex that I use for web design, and of course those are like the big signs. They don't come with an operating system. I'm like, good. I don't want it to, but they came with a hard drive. It was just blank, and I'm like, hey, that's exactly what I wanted. But yeah, that's what we need is some of those
simple
stores.
Solution too for another point. A simple solution: a desktop or a laptop. I bought an old Dinosaur laptop, and it had Windows 7 on it, so I wasn't sure if I wanted to blow it away. I just unplugged it and bought a new SSD drive and installed Linux on that. I think XFCE on it, and it installed Linux, and it runs great. A faster load time, and it wasn't hard at all, but you have to know how to do that. Hit delete and install from the USB stick. Well, not many people even know how to do that. So
yeah,
that's kind of what I did
on with Windows, but
that's kind of what I did with my Ubuntu top. Is it had Windows 8 in it, so I used the existing hard drive and upgraded it to 10. Then I took the hard drive out because it was almost brand new, and threw it in a drawer, and then I put an SSD in it to soup it up and stuffed Ubuntu in it.
Yeah.
So what I was saying is what you would do is the same thing. How like if you bought like a ThinkPad that had Windows on it, you would contact Lenovo for support. That's how it works. Microsoft doesn't provide support to direct end users unless you buy Windows directly from them.
God
but
we need support.
You're still buying Windows with the cost of the computer.
Yeah, well, we're talking about support. Is what we were talking about before. Is that what we were saying? Is that it should be the same for Linux. If you buy a ThinkPad that has Linux on it, you contact Lenovo for support. I think that's the way it needs to be, because we were talking about like a more novice user who doesn't know much about Linux, and that they would probably need to contact support for whatever reason, and that it would be the same as Windows, where you would contact the manufacturer for support.
I can tell you how.
Oh, God, Dan.
I can tell you exactly what you get when you do get a hold of Microsoft and you get a hold of support, because I needed to activate my Windows and it wouldn't activate. And I ain't going to tell you what I told them, but They gave me a number over the phone. I ran and the command line thing. They had me open the command prompt, put this command in it with a number, and they all of a sudden the cursor's moving around and they're digging around on my computer at their end, and then they activated it for me, and that was the end of that.
Oh, Mitchell brings up the next valid point we have. Linux adoption is challenging. Last time I was at the orphanage to adopt a Linux, I couldn't believe how many choices I had. Ooh, very good.
Ooh.
Yeah, so, and to me, this isn't as much of an issue as it is, because to the person who has no idea what Linux is, and you start looking around, you're not going to land on thousands of choices in Linux. You're going to land on Ubuntu or something else like it, unless you're diving into the deep forums and doing more like that, in which case you don't need as much help. But that is a valid point. Which one do we use? Do we need a standardized Linux? I think a standardized Linux would be a bad idea because it's going to become Microsoft.
Now, what is it? What does a Manjaro computer cost? I know they're selling them now.
I don't know. Let me see if do they have them over at Manjaro's website, right? Let me pull that up.
Yeah. Is Manjaro's website still garbage? Do you remember after they switched from WordPress?
Yeah, it's the new one. It's pretty much that way.
The thing though is going back to adoption, or actually Linux adoption for mainstream. These small these small computer companies aren't the ones who are going to aren't the ones who are going to attract the mainstream. It's the larger companies that are going to, because those are the ones that will be put in stores.
Yeah. All right. Manjaro actually is going to have some neat options. This is worth bringing up, and I didn't think about it, so thanks, Dan. All right. So Pine 64, of course, Pinebook Pro is at 200. This is still basically a beta. Eventually, we are going to do a discussion. I'm going to do another show of format like this with anybody who's purchased Pine products and has them. So me and Tech and Pizza at least are going on. If anybody else out there has experience with Pine products, we're going to do that. So the Pinebook Pro, not super good. You're not going to do a ton with it, but there's that. They have the Pine phones. Now the Star Labs, this is nice. Now these, I'm not sure if you can get these shipped to United States or not, but starting at 400 and 700 British pounds is honestly not that bad of a price. I don't remember exactly what that's going to translate into in US. Can somebody calculate that for me? They're not super far off, but
let me look.
Maybe 800. And then they have Tuxedo computers. These guys are euros, starting about 1,200. So we have the Mini PCs. Very nice to see the Mini PCs at 525 euros. Laptops 800 to 900 euros. Go ahead, Quinn.
It was 400, right? Was the base one, right?
I think so. 400, yes.
Yeah, 400 pounds is $516.75.
So there you go. That's pretty good. Now, again, I don't know if any of these are going to ship to the United States for if you're here in the States. But yeah, that's a good option as well. I know Linux Mint used to sell the mini computers. I don't know if they still do or not. Let's just go ahead and have a brief look at their site. If I can type in linuxmint.com. We'll see if you can still get hardware over there. I'm not even sure exactly where to go to look, but I know at one point in time you could. Let's see. The Mint box. So this is pretty old. I'm not sure if the computers are still out. These are based on Fitlets, like 300, 500, depending on what you have. And I'm not sure if they are still available or not, but if they are, that would be an awesome bet as well. So it's basically a Fitlet with Linux Mint branding on it, which is really cool. That's actually what I'm using for my routers. I'm not sure if I can still find those or not. But yeah, that's...
How do those work?
What's that?
How do those things work?
I mean, of course, I'm running that for my router right now, which is overkill for a router. I actually did some early testing on it before I installed pfSense on it. I ran some other, I think I ran Debian on it for a little bit. It actually worked decent.
Yeah.
Now, I was running it before I knew that I could increase the processor speed and stuff. And so I went ahead and did that. And when I did that, it actually worked out really well. So
You should also look up, I just thought of this now that you mentioned PFSense and routing. The box that I have, which is the Protectly Vault, they have an Ubuntu option.
mm-hmm.
It's protectly.com is the website.
Let me see if I can find.
And I think I paid, I know for mine, I think mine was maybe about $200. It was almost $300.
Here's another issue. These overly priced Linux laptops, who actually covers the tech support for that? That's got to be built into the price too somewhere.
Yeah, that is a good question, for which I do not have a specific answer. Because I would wager they'd say, hey, they don't necessarily come with direct support, but you have community support, which could be good and it could be really bad. Honestly.
And the price of, $900 to $1,200 for a laptop deters people that want something that's cheap and they can get on the internet from getting one of these boxes and having 100 questions.
Yeah. Now, if you do like System 76, again, we're back into, about $1,200 for a base model. These guys, not only do they make the hardware, but they make the software as well. And they do provide, from what I understand, excellent support. So, yeah, if the extra price tag is going to pay for your extra support, then that is exactly what you're going to need. So, that's why some of them you get that. Of course, Librem, the brand new version of Librem is $1,400, and then I did actually find this other site with a lot of places to buy Linux preloaded. So this was a nice site. It's, of course, Dell, of course. And Dell, not a lot of options, but if you contact them directly, I'm sure you could work something out. I did Emperor Linux. Is that this one here? So frightening looking website. It looks like it may not have been updated since maybe 1999 when it was installed, I guess. But again, $2,000 range. Here's some Linux certified laptops at linuxcertified.com. Is it LAC Portland? Again, into the thousands. So my guess is these ones here, I don't know if they'd support them or not. So that's a good, valid question. Who does support them?
I think all the business reasons I've mentioned is why they're kind of inflated.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, they're not necessarily inflated. They're just using the best hardware out there. That's part of the issue that I think, because you can ship Linux with a little bit lower spec system, though.
That's because there's no in between or cheap laptops because everybody's bought them all up.
Yeah, there you go. There's a thought.
So the appliance that I use for my firewall, which is the Protectly Vault, I paid $200. The base price is $219, but that comes with like no for the specific model I have. There's a bunch of different models. That base price doesn't have any memory or storage, but it wasn't too much expensive after you add the memory and storage. And there's an option to get Ubuntu pre-installed.
Yeah, there's you can get the similar thing running. Let's see if I can find this site. The Intel Nukes, which Sleepy Eyes Vince said are really good.
I have one of those at mine.
Oh,
it's
you do?
The computer that we have
Okay,
at our other house. It works pretty well.
So that works well. And those are much the same way. So here on Newegg, 143. Now, again, of course, ad blockers and stuff. Let's see if I can get in there something else. Now, like 143 is the frame. You need to add memory. You need to add the drive. You need to add the things you need. I think the kits, I have everything you need, maybe. Let's see. So the
kits don't have memory or storage.
They do not have memory or storage. Okay.
No.
What does the kit have in it?
The kit is just the device itself with no operating system and no memory or storage. It's just a device with just the motherboard and the CPU in it.
Okay. Okay, and then you have the Nuke Mini PCs. No, leave me alone, pop-ups. The Nuke Mini PCs, these ones are ready to use. So these guys, 686, you have an i5 10 to 10, I guess. 6 megabytes of cache up to 420, M2 and 2.5-inch drive bay. You have HDMI, USB-C, really, really good system. And those are ready to go. Those are the ones that are ready to go. So they'll start there. And so those are pretty nice. No, leave me alone, you stupid pop-ups.
The thing I'm looking at right here, if you want to look it up, it's protectly.com is the website. It's the FW4B is the model I'm looking, which has a Celeron J3160, which is it's a quad core at 1.6 gigahertz. I think it has a turbo boost like a lot of Intel processors do. And with 8 gigs of RAM and 120 gigabyte SSD with Ubuntu, and no Wi-Fi or anything. I didn't do Wi-Fi. It's $317. They're more equipped to be firewalls though, because they have they have 4 Ethernet ports on them, and the Wi-Fi card that you can add is only BGN. But you could easily just get you could either easily just put another Wi-Fi card that supports AC in there.
Yeah.
It's just a standard M.2 slot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess if you're in the market for a smaller PC and saving space and stuff, getting one of the kits that does not have an operating system, you're going to save the money. You just need to pick up the RAM and stuff to it, and then put in the RAM and hard drive, right? I think.
Yeah, RAM and hard drive.
Kay says he has a Star Labs computer. They do ship to the USA, so that's good. Nuke is pronounced Nuck, not Nuke. Come on, man. I like dropping nukes.
Nuke.
Come on, it is Nuck. All right. Hey, pronunciation, not my strong suit. I need a wrist strap, and a mask. What? Don't give me a mask. Replacing a bunch of systems that work with the i5 Nux. All right. Well, let me know how they work. That would be awesome. All right. Let's see. We're coming up on time here. I think we covered a lot of interesting things. I guess to summarize the principles, we need to know more about Linux. We need to figure out a way of support, and we need to have systems that are not the absolute greatest, latest and greatest top of the line so that people can come in and choose what they're looking at. So with that, Rick, we'll start with you on final words before we end the stream.
Yeah, I'm wondering, Quint, I'm quite out of the loop, but computers, people that want to build a computer from scratch, how many people are actually out there? Because most people in the 50s up to my age, they have no idea how to put a computer. It's only the young people who know how to build a computer from scratch.
Most of the people are gamers.
Yeah, I've built mine from scratch, but
I did not build mine. I have a older Lenovo ThinkStation. I just didn't want to spend the money when I could get something like a Lenovo ThinkStation that still has a good processor in it for way cheaper.
I tried to fish around online to to get the parts and get an idea and watch some machine builders YouTube channels. And I made a list of everything that I thought I wanted. And I took it down to Micro Center, and I was off on a few things. And the salesmen there are extremely knowledgeable. And I wanted the motherboard I wanted was like one version older for the AMD Ryzen processor I was getting. And he told me, you can get this motherboard, and it is a little cheaper, but you're going to have to flash the BIOS in it to make it work with the processor you want. And I'm like, well, do you have the motherboard I don't have to flash? And he goes, yes, the next model up. It's the X470. Because I had a 370.
There's a website called PC Part Picker that allows you to put different parts together, and it will tell you if it's compatible.
I've seen that.
Yeah, I did it the rough way.
It's a lot of people who, like my age and people older, But it's mainly gamers who are going to install Windows. It's not, and there are Linux people, I'm sure, that build their own computers. But a lot of the thing, especially when some of the reasons why I use Linux is that I can just take any old computer and put it on there without any issues.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really see the point in building a computer. And the other point that I've had, or the other thing that I've had issues with, this is just something I don't understand, is it's really hard to find parts, especially stuff like water cooling, which is something I would want if I'm going to build a computer that doesn't have like RGB LEDs and stuff in it.
Yeah, I didn't ask for anything that had the color stuff in it.
I don't want that. I've been trying to find, because I do actually have a computer I built in PC Part Picker, because I might eventually build a computer, and I want to get water cooling because I think that that seems like a really nice thing to have, and it's really hard to find stuff that doesn't have all sorts of like lights in it and stuff.
Just get a solid case that's all black.
I still don't want
even my motherboard does the disco thing, and so does the video card and everything. But I have it in a windowless case, and I didn't buy a new case. I just refurbished an old.
The biggest challenge I have with the cases these days is I can't find any modern cool case that still supports any form of drive bays. Which I use icy docks, and so I need drive bays.
I've found cases that have drive bays, and a lot of them don't.
They're pretty rare.
Cases that have drive bays.
Yeah, that's the one. Like I think I kept the case. I think I kept the case when I rebuilt this, and the CD-ROM when I rebuilt mine. I find rebuilding them's better because of the. It's a lot cheaper, actually.
This Cosmo case will hold 12 of these.
Yeah.
If you go on PC Part Picker and look at you can browse like PC parts on there, and there are cases that don't have Windows and that have DVD drives. They're just a lot fewer.
Yeah. All right. That was actually a really good. Yeah, that was a really good side tangent. So we'll go ahead and wrap up now, though. That was a good small side tangent, though. So Rick, we'll go back to you. Final words on challenges to Linux adoption.
Well, like I say, if to get a Linux computer up and running, everything around here comes with Windows. So the only way you can start from scratch is build your own, and otherwise you're going to pay for the operating system. And for the price of operating system, you can just buy a nice hard drive or extra nice bigger monitor or whatever nice hardware you want. So it pretty well have to build it from scratch around here. And the price, if you go for some of the pre-installed Linux version models, they're way up there. You get a nice low-end gaming laptop for $1,200, right? Mm-hmm. So why bother with Linux?
Yeah.
So that's my take on it.
System 76 laptops, so those are, to my understanding, pretty good for gaming, though, too. Miura over there on our Discord says Corsair 200R is a case with drive bays. So that's one I'll look at. I'm not really in the market for a new case at this point in time, but in the event I need one in the future, it would be cool. Yeah, absolutely. Quint, give me your final words.
I really think we need to see more laptops with lower prices and that have more desktop environment choices to hit the market, because I think that's what's going to make Linux go mainstream. I think right now companies like Lenovo and Dell are trying to focus on people who want Linux. Like even like the Dell Linux laptop is called the Developer Edition. Mm-hmm. I think they're trying to focus on people who want that or who want Linux. They're not trying to convince people who don't know, who don't really have an opinion to use it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Dan, final thoughts.
We've been wrestling with this issue for a couple of years, quite a few years now. It's been like 3 or 4 years we started seeing laptops and 76 and everything else on the market. I think companies are just testing the waters with Linux and how much it's going to cost to actually issue out Linux computers, and how much backlash they're going to get that they have to invest to keep it rolling. The COVID virus thing is not helping at all. I'm sure if they wanted to put mid-type laptops out there, they would try that, but they've already got ones that already had Windows on it. And right when this COVID stuff started, that was the first thing everybody went grabbing for, was the cheapest computer in the Windows line for what they needed to do. So I think we need to wait another year and see what irons out. Maybe things will get better.
All right. There we are. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that we're making progress. We are seeing more and more and more places. Lenovo bringing more computers to the market is good. There's a number of things. So I think that we're getting there. We are.
Yeah, at the boardroom at some of these companies, they're sooner or later going to wait and say, "Why are we paying for Windows? Why don't we just put Linux on it? We could save $100."
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up the live part here, and from there we will. From there, we'll go ahead and be back. Tomorrow is the weekly news roundup. I'll be streaming on my other show tonight on the Christian channel, and there we are. Not sure what happened to my view window there, but we'll figure that out. But anyway, if you want to jump on over to the Christian show tonight, I'll just go ahead and drop the link in there. And we will see you guys next time.
Will.